morning. What a wonderful way to start this weekend with one of my favorite professionals in the United States and Latin America, Juan Carlos Gutierrez. My name is Marilyn Earhart. I help women 30 years old or above to really move from here to there, where they're stuck in their job, where thinking about starting a new business, and are trying to design their journey and how to get there. So I met Juan Carlos, I think it was in 1996 in Venezuela, right, Juan Carlos?
There you go.
And he's now the currently managing director for Latin American and the Caribbean for Amazon. He had a wonderful journey and career, and I think you will be inspired by some of the learnings that we had through that trip. And you can take some golden nuggets as to how do you move from here to there when you're navigating your career, your job, and the business world, no matter where you are, whether you're in the US, in Europe, or in Latin America. So, Juan Carlos, do you remember when we met in Venezuela?
Yeah, absolutely, Marilyn. And first of all, thank you for having me here today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to see you. And I remember that day. I remember it changed, actually, I will say changed my life. I was back in 1996. I was a young engineer, computer science engineer in Venezuela. I had finished my master's degree in computer in telecom. Actually, it was in management in telecommunications that I did in France, and I returned to Venezuela to grow in my career. I was at Oracle, and you were a VP at Oracle. I think you were doing one of the visits to the different countries, and in that visit we connected, we met, and we started to talk. And that was I will say a life changing that we can talk more about it and more in detail about it. But yeah, I remember that day, that year, pretty clearly. So it was awesome.
Yes, me too. And one of the things that I want to share with the people that are actually trying to see where they take their career to the next level, and they're talking to managers and directors and other mentors in their life, that the one thing that impressed me the most about Juan Carlos when he talked to me the first time is that he was so passionate to take his career to another place. And he was willing to change, and he was willing to take the necessary risk to make that happen. And that's very important when you are thinking to make a change in your career, that you actually intentionally are willing to take the risk that takes to move to the other side. What put the flame in your heart, Juan Carlos, to make that change? What were the factors that actually push you to make that decision?
Yes, as you said, it was super important for for me and for any professional to take the risk, to be hungry, and to to be I would say uncomfortable, from where you are, because you want always there is a call for all of us to do better, to growth, and to be the best person that you can be. So what happened at that time, I didn't know all these things that are probably, with age and with experience, I know better. But I had that passion of growing, learning, in particular learning, and take the opportunity that it was brought to me by you, by Oracle, to growth professionally. So I was looking for that. And I guess as part of my instruction, my development that I have, again, as an engineer and with my master degree, I was actually looking for that. I always connect also the importance of what you have learned in your house with your family. And I came from a family of immigrants in Venezuela. So my family from Spain, from the Canary Islands. And I learned from my parents, from my grandmother, that you met also at some point, the importance of taking risk, as they did, moving from the Canary Islands to Venezuela, invest in education, work hard, and shoot for your dreams, right? And so I learned that. Learning the more that you can, working hard, and take risk. So just like they did, traveling, the ocean and going from the Canary Islands to Venezuela, then start their lives there. And I learned that. I learned I remember this from my grandmother, the importance of being a citizen of the world. I learned that in the 80s, actually. In the 80s. And it was like a citizen of the world. And in the 80s was like, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so it is that the world is much more than, your city, where you are. There is a huge opportunity to impact society, to growth. So when we talk, I was really passionate about that, about growing, and I saw in yourself a similar path, Marilyn. Like you took that and you were projecting that passion too, and I think we connected from the beginning. Like you helped me to take the necessary steps. Also validating that taking risk is important, and I will say, other than the examples that I have in my house with my parents, of course, with my grandmother, with teachers that I have also early on that challenged me to learn, to be successful, to be the best version of yourself. I will say that other than those, professionally, I see in yourself that person that I wanted to follow, and it's very important to, when you are in that stage in your career, it's always important, but at that time, to look for somebody that you want to see yourself in the future.
Yes.
And that's what I saw, and I always thankful and grateful for that opportunity.
So that has been an amazing gift to me. And that's what, when you're a leader, when you have a responsibility for managing a lot of people, of course, you have to get the results that the corporation is asking from you, but that comes from actually being able to leave a significant impact on the people that you're managing and you're working with, and that is very important. So let's talk about the three most important lessons that you learned in your career. It's hard to narrow it down to three, remember?
Absolutely.
When we used to be in meetings and they would say, okay, you got 5 minutes to tell us everything that happened in the quarter. That was very difficult for us, right? But if you can think of the three things that were more significant in your career that you want to pass down to younger people today.
Yeah. So I think, in my career professionally, and that's a great question, Marilyn, I had the opportunity, really, I had been blessed to work with big corporations and also startups. Had that combination of a startups mentality that you can, every day, as we say in Amazon, every day is day one. So it's always a day one, because it's that feeling that you are starting today and everything is possible. But also the corporations like Oracle, like PeopleSoft, like PwC, and now Amazon itself, that gives you that big numbers, people, structure, that is also very important to learn. So over the years, I have learned different things. So the first one that I always share is that you never stop learning. So learning is super important. So yes, you have to always learn and be curious.
Yes.
Independent of your title, your job. So when you are at the point that you say, well, I'm done, I know everything, I don't need to, that's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. Always learning, always be curious in growth, in knowledge. So always have that curiosity, that learning process. So the second thing that I have learned over the years is that everybody's being called to be a leader, okay, independent of your size of your team or the title in the company. You are a leader in your house, in your with your family. You're a leader even as a child of your parents. You're a leader too. So that leadership, in the conscious that you are always a leader, and as a leader you are influencing others, and you want to influence others to be better and to grow, to be better persons, better human beings. It is important to realize that. So that's probably my second lesson, that you are always a leader and you are always impacting others. And the best way to impact others as a leader, that's also something that I have learned over the years, is that you should look for that virtuosity in the leadership that you have. We can talk more about that. So what it means being a virtuous leader is having good habits, which is what a virtuous is. So a virtue, yes. So good habits like being humble, be empathetic, give more than what you receive. So have a caritative approach to give others. So those virtues are so very important, because it's not about you when you're a leader. It's about others. It's about how you really help those that are impacted with your leadership. You help them to succeed and to be better. So that's probably the second lesson. And the third one is never forget from where you came. We basically, when we are successful and when we got everything that we were planning, and we are achieved that, we probably could forget who helped you. Okay, we are tempted, the society makes you believe that is everything because of only yourself.
Yes.
That's not true. So you need to realize that a lot of people help you, that God helped you, and you have that path that you shouldn't forget. And the more that you can share that path, as we're doing today, with others, inspire others, and make sure that they don't commit the same mistakes, because there are a lot of mistakes in that path, that you should share it. But that will be probably my third lesson. Never forget that path that you took. So
that is very, very good. I think that for me, probably I would say that for women specifically, climbing the corporate ladder can be very disappointing and very difficult, because as you climb that ladder, a society tells you to climb it, which is do your best, you're the best, you're going to realize when you get to the top, there's a huge big glass ceiling. It's still for women, even in spite of all the stuff that's going on today. And when you hit that glass ceiling, the tendency is to slide to the other side of that mountain very, very fast, all the way to the bottom. And that is very dangerous. So I think my first lesson is, be aware, just like you're saying, of how society, culture is pushing you to climb that ladder. Because just because you get to the top doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. That's one of mine. So I encourage women all the time to climb the character ladder, just like you were saying in leadership. And the character ladder has to do with your character, and it has to do with humility, it has to do with compassion, it has to do with empathy, it has to do with integrity. Your yes is always yes, and your no is always no, no matter how much you lose in the game. And that will take you way farther than if you really focus on the corporate ladder. The second thing for me that is very dangerous too is pride. Pride is probably the most ineffective tool in your backpack when you are traveling that ladder. It tends to make you see things that are not real, just like you say. And it tends to stop you from growing up So pride is very important not to have, and to be aware when it shows up, just like you said, that you got there because there were other people around you. You didn't get there because you're a genius. And we are like the redwood trees, right? They grow beautiful, but what makes them grow beautiful is because their roots are so integrated with one another and they're so strong with one another. So the stronger you grow and you allow other people to embrace you and come around you, you will realize that you will be way more successful than if you have pride. So those are the important things for me, in terms of, climb the character ladder, eliminate pride, and understand that there's always people around you that are going to help you get from here to there. And make sure, this is the last thing that I would say, that whatever you do has a significance in people's life that is way more valuable than overachieving your numbers and getting all these awards for being the overachiever of the corporation, et cetera, et cetera. That is good. I'm not saying it's not good. It's good to make money, because without money, it's hard to help people, right? But if you have done all that and you didn't have a significant impact in people's life, at the end of your journey, you're going to feel that you accomplished very little. So those are the three for me.
Super, super good. Yeah, totally agree with you.
So Juan Carlos, tell us a little bit about when you came to Christ. What was that all about?
Yes, actually, I was mentioning a little bit that that those mistakes, right? That probably all of us do at some point in our path, and that over time, that hunger to grow, that ambitious to be successful. I will say it was becoming more materialistic. I come from a very I wouldn't call it deep, but the seeds that I got as a Christian Catholic in my family were important. So what I had pretty good examples, especially from my dad, my grandmother, even my mom. But my dad was that great example of somebody that is doing a lot of sacrifices, is helping others, and as an example of values, he was always there, like an icon for me. And so I have those seeds, but over time, my successful was more related to the BMW, the big house, the house with pool, more and more. I would say relating your success as a materialistic and power. Okay, bigger teams, a bigger title. So it was becoming that path, especially when I came back to Oracle and over the years. So because I had two chapters there. One when we were working together at Oracle, then I left, went to PeopleSoft, and then Oracle acquired PeopleSoft. And in that second chapter, I was in a crisis personally, but in a very successful professional materialistic career. Let's put it that way. So what happened is that at some point around, I think 2005, 2006, traveling a lot. I think at that time I had almost 4 million miles travel, with American Airlines and United. That's if you made the math, I think that is going to the moon and come back. If I remember the numbers, it was like 7-8 times doing that. So that's pretty much the amount of travel that I was doing. And so when you do that, you lose a lot of things in the house, right? So you are not there, you're not present with the family. So what was happening is that my marriage actually was almost going to disappear. And so I guess I got God's will, and through others, as we were talking, I got an invitation to do a retreat over a weekend that is called the Emmaus, the road to Emmaus retreat, which is in the Gospel of Luke. And that one basically used to simplify. Over the weekend, you are experiencing the same that the two disciples do in the road to Emmaus. They are lost, concerned, and they walk over that weekend with Jesus, and then they realize he was walking with them the whole time, and they come back to Jerusalem. So that's what happened in that retreat, and it happens with me. So it was like a totally, lost, concerned, and then I realized that, Jesus was always with me, and I didn't see him. And then I have to return to Jerusalem. And that return is coming back again to those roots where your life is not about you. Jesus should be the center of your life, and everything else is going to come around that. So after that, I started. So I will say the first thing that happened with me, that changed, because it was a big change over the weekend, when my wife, when Asa saw those changes, and with everything that comes with that, like asking for forgiveness or sorry, everything that comes, she did the retreat also. And when she did the retreat, actually, she got more immersed than me.
So, yes, she did.
She did. And it was
That's called leadership. That's called leadership to the best.
Exactly. So I influenced her to be better, and
yes.
and much better than my own path. And but after that, it was an amazing blessing, Marilyn. So that came, it's a road again every day. Things are happening, are difficult, but when you make that decision of Jesus is at the center, your wife, actually, your spouse, is the second. It's not the children. It's not the job. It's your spouse. You put the things in perspective, and that's what happened with me. And then we had been learning more, experiencing more, and receiving more, blessings every day.
Yeah, this is a very interesting piece, because both men and women struggle. Okay, balancing work, career, and your personal life. And this is a good example. You as a man, where it take you. As a woman, it's a little bit more difficult because we are mothers, and the fact that we have designed for that nurturing to our children make us very guilty when we're not present, and our careers are demanding a lot of our time. I remember too, there were times where I slept on an airplane more than I slept in my house. And my son started to go in the wrong direction. I was not there, but I thought that providing him a lot of material things, like you say, the big house, the private schools, the brand sneakers, the this and that and the other, was filling that gap. But I like to say that it doesn't. Your present is the most important thing. And as I was walking through that journey, my son basically came to Christ. And when I saw that miracle in his life, I started to really get serious as to what I had missed by not walking with Christ and balancing my life, balancing my work, my career, and my family in walking that journey. And I did go to Jerusalem, actually, physically, because I was so amazed as to how much mercy God has on us, and how at the right time he shows up in our life and start opening the curtains as to how we need to walk forward. And since that, it has been nothing but amazing grace in walking that journey with balance and Christ at the center, not corporations at the center. And he has given me a great opportunity to grow my own women-owned business, and continue to now coach and mentor women to make sure they don't fall into that pit hole of the 21st century Babylon. That's my goal today.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, very, very similar wake-up calls. Let's put it that way. And I actually had the opportunity to go over time also to Jerusalem. My case was more recently in 2018. But that for sure is something that I always recommend. We should have. We should actually, as we are talking right now about that, we should tell people that at some point in your life you should go to Holy Land and plan for that. Just like you plan for that house and you plan for that promotion and you plan for having kids. Great. When in your life are you going to visit Holy Land? And that should be something in your calendar at some point, and look for that vision.
Absolutely. I think that we need to not allow people to program our identities. We're very unique individuals. We are precious creatures of God. We have a lot of gifts that were given to us at birth, and we should not walk blind through this world, letting other people program our identity. We need to find who we are in Christ, what gift we have given it, what purpose, and use it to be significant in other people's life and use it for His glory. And that's where you get the biggest reward at the end of your career. Not politically correct, maybe, I don't know, but I just have to talk about both sides of the equation, just like you do, and help people at least process and think through it, because it's worth it.
Yep. Absolutely.
So tell us, Juan Carlos, let's talk a little bit about our favorite subject in corporate America, diversity. Have you, in this journey from here to there, did you ever feel like you were less than a minority, that your accent or coming from Venezuela or heritage from Spain in the United States stop you from achieving your dreams?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you just remember, just sharing again my journey, Spaniard roots, Venezuela. And I always let me summarize that I share. I always say that I'm a Spaniard by blood, Venezuelan by luck, and American by choice.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah. I really do.
So it's a melting pot of cultures, if you can tell, and but also it's part of the journey and the decision that I had made. When I moved to the US, for sure I had a different accent. I didn't have the level of English that I have today, so I was learning back early in my 20s, and I didn't feel discriminated, but I knew, just like maybe I didn't have, I have to learn some technical skills, and I have to be better, with my, with methodologies to do my consulting work, and I have to learn. I also knew that I have to improve my my English, and I have to improve my communication in writing and verbal. So that doesn't mean that I was discriminated. There was a gap. So what I did was, first of all, realize that I had that gap, and not maybe the first thing that I was lucky to because I was actually mentored by yourself and by others in Virginia, that there is a gap. Let's work on that. So what I did was, at nights I went to I registered in a university to improve my pronunciation, my writing. I took writing classes in in Nova University in Virginia. So I had to spend more time to improve my gaps, in particular, but I knew there were gaps. So I was not discriminated. I had technical gaps and communication gaps. Once I started to show that I was intentional about improving, working on that, that helped me a lot. So I don't think that's a discrimination. What I felt is, hey, you have professional and communication gaps that you have to work out, right?
Yeah.
But it was not because I, was Spaniard, Venezuelan. That could have happened with somebody from Japan that didn't know how to communicate. So same thing, gaps, work it out. That's actually what the only moment that I knew that I have to invest significantly to fill that gap, to improve that gap. And the rest really no. I mean, I come to your point about that the diversity approach, and we can talk hours about it. That it was something that I didn't know yet existed. In coming from Latin America, everybody was diverse. So I used to work with especially in Venezuela, the culture was very I would say equitable, as we call it today, with women in positions. My peers were all women. You were my boss, and it was I never felt like a woman is my boss. I have women peers. I have African Americans in Venezuela peers. We call African Americans here in the U.S. There, we didn't call it African Americans, So I have Black colleagues, but it was a concept that I learned in the U.S. So let's put it that way, because I meant in my experience in Venezuela, diversity was nothing that you have to consider, at least in terms of gender or in terms of background. There were some maybe scenes that they were not equitable, if you will, about classes, but that's because of I will say that society, right? So you have others that have more access to goods and maybe to over the years, but that doesn't mean that you can have it. That doesn't mean that with hard work and with determination you can, as we were talking, you can go on that ladder. No? So what I learned in the U.S. is that probably on the positive side, there are not. I didn't have in my experience at Maryland community groups, affinity groups. Like you work, you have your friends from college, your family, your colleagues of. That's it. That's your circle. Maybe church, but. Affinity groups that are maybe looking for professionally to do similar things than you and help each other on the negative, if you will, on the opportunity side. We didn't have that in Latin America. So I learned that it is important in your career also to relate with others that are similar to you, that are looking for same goals and helping each other. And that's where I was lucky to be invited to an organization that is called HITECH, the Hispanic IT Executive Council, that you were also part. You are still part, Marilyn. And that was a group, actually, to me, was like a blossom also. Executive, Hispanic hunger, as I was at the beginning, but also others that were in board seats, very successful in helping others. I remember when I connected with one of them, Ramon Baez, who was the CIO of HP, and he's a very spiritual person. He's in the board today of United Healthcare, Kaiser Permanente in California. It was like, wow, this is a person that is very authentic, transparent, CIO. So this is a great organization to connect, and that's where I put diversity into action, Marilyn. Put paying and helping others, and we call it the pull up and push up. So how really now you can start helping others that are maybe lost or they don't know where to go. They didn't have the opportunity to have a mentor like you. And then I started to be mentors to others.
Yes.
And I didn't see that in my professional environment. The companies that I was working at that time, they didn't tell me, hey, you should be a mentor of others. It was my own call to do it, but the corporation doesn't prepare, doesn't
Right.
oriented you to do that. But high tech was like a place of everybody saying, hey, you have to pay back, you have to help others because you were help. And that was a great experience. It still is a great experience of what really I think diversity should be, which is
Yes,
about help.
absolutely. I think that high tech experience was amazing. And so grateful to you for inviting me to be part of that organization, Hispanic executive people in technology helping one another. Met a lot of interesting people that were very willing to help one another. Actually, met Carlos de la Vega, the CEO of AT&T, and a lot of people like that. I mean, even when we went to the White House and the CIO of the White House was hanging out with us, and the visibility and the help that that organization have brought forward to Hispanics professionals in the United States has been amazing. Yeah, and I think that I feel the same way. I never allowed gender or cultural background or ethnicity or color or any of that to stop my dreams. My dreams are my dreams, and my lane is my lane, okay? And I walk that lane as a golf game, me and Christ. It's not a basketball game when it comes to what I want to achieve. It becomes a basketball game when you relate to people to attain that. But as you know where you want to go, you cannot let those things stop you. Are the people going to make fun of you? Yeah, probably. Just like you said, if you have an accent, people are going to ask you, where are you from for the rest of your life? Okay, well, you have an accent. You have to live with that. There are times where people say things to me that were nasty. I say, well, that's your problem. That's not my problem. And continue to walk forward, right? And that's what I want to really bring down, especially to women. There are a lot of men like you. You don't see gender. You see people, and you have helped a lot of women. I have seen you mentoring women in a very I would say in a very positive way, because we need men and women. Okay, if you want to know what the men world is all about, yeah, it's good to have a man mentor. And if you want to know how women can navigate the waters, yes, you need a women mentor. It's not like, oh, women for women and men for men. It's that when we cross that barrier and that illusion of what diversity is, we become better. And I have been around men my entire career. A lot of them have been a tremendous asset to my career. And I look at men like that, men like you that do not see gender, and find that they're probably the biggest asset for women, because you provide not only a different perspective, but you can help women understand how the game is playing, because it is still a man game. I don't care what anybody says. I've been on board of directors. I've been behind the doors. I know what CEOs say and think, and it's not. When a woman is pregnant, that's a problem. When a woman have 3 or 4 kids, that's a problem. It's looked at as, okay, it's not going to be as productive as a man. And salaries are still not the same for men versus women. And a lot of times, I don't blame the men for that. I blame that women do not stand up and negotiate and say, no, that's not the way it's going to be. And let me tell you why. Let me provide the data. Let me show you. And women tend to say, well, okay, I'm discriminated because I'm a woman. No, ever say that. And being a woman and managing all of Latin America, which is a very interesting culture when it comes to women, I never, ever had any problems because I stood up and I negotiated. I communicated very clearly, and people got it. Men get it. But you really have to stand up and move for what you really want in your life, negotiate it, communicate it, and keep walking forward and try to find people that will support you, and men and women both, not just women, men and women, men like you, that can really wrap you around and say, here, go this way or go that way, or maybe you should think about this or that. And that to me is very important. But never ever let fear, false evidence appearing real to stop you from your dreams. You're a woman, you're this, you're that. No. It's not real. It's not real. And you will get to the other side. You will go to your here to there without falling down to the ground if you have that strategy in your life from a diversity standpoint.
Absolutely. And look for people that always are looking to help. So your actions are. So if you are struggling, as everybody struggles at some point, look for help. You cannot do it alone. That is always another call.
Absolutely. We cannot do it alone. So Juan Carlos, tell us, what do you want to leave as a conclusion of this wonderful conversation between you and I?
No, thank you, Mary. So maybe recommendation for young professionals and others that are in the path. There was a book that I always, of course, after the Bible, probably, which is the most important one. But one of the books that impacted me as a professional was 7 Habits from Steve Covey. Yeah. And one of the, all of them, but that is kind of hey, habits are important. So you have to, when you practice good habits, they become virtuous, as I was saying before. So look for those good habits and put it in your practice continuously, But from that book, I learned also that it is important to start, and you already mentioned it, knowing yourself. So you want to do a change. You wanna grow in your career. Okay, start for the first thing is know who you are. Yeah. Know yourself. What are your gifts? What are your things that you struggle to? So know yourself. The more that you know yourself better, that's a very solid starting point. And the second thing, which is what Covey said, is to start from the goal and work backwards. Put the destination in your mind. So where do you want to go? So, yeah, I want to be like Marilyn. I want to be like JC. I want to be, like this person. Or I want to have, multiple kids. Or I want whatever. So that's your goal. Be solid. Of course, add value to the goal, but that's your goal. And from there, knowing that goal and knowing where you are and who you are, build a path. It looks easier, but that path, when you work backwards, so if that goal is going to happen in 5 years, 10 years from now, okay, what are you going to be doing in, 5 years, in 2 years, next year? And that should be your roadmap. Yeah. And that could change. Maybe in 2 years from now, somebody got sick. You got out of your job, change your dream. Okay, start all over again. Now where you are, what is your goal, and build a plan. But that's kind of always the first conversation that I have with my mentees. And when you ask that, the majority struggles about, that goal. And I always use the analogy, maybe to wrap it up, Marilyn, from Alice in Wonderland, when she's lost, in the story, and she asks the cat, "Where do I go? I'm lost," right? And the cat asks Alice, "Okay, do you know where you are going?" "No." "Okay, whatever path you take will be the same."
Yeah.
So you need to know where you're going and build that plan. That will be my recommendation for young professionals.
Indeed. I think that's basically what inspired me to help women in their 30s, because the 30s is is very foundational age. That's when you're really building the platform as to where you're going, and on the 40s you're reaping all the benefits of that. So I want to get to women in their 30s to design the matrix, design that journey from here to there, and also that matrix has to be aligned your gift and your skills and your expertise, but your gift and your passion and what you really love to do. And as you design that, like you say, you can pivot, but at least you have visualized where you want to be and what it's going to take. And one of the things that I teach them is to understand what the battlefield looks like, because you're always going to have, and in my methodology, we call it sharks, that are going to pull you back to the future and will not let you continue forward on that connection between here and there, make you drown, go back because of fear or whatever. And that thing has been very helpful because they have been able to anticipate what's going to happen in the battlefield. Okay. And you basically, you do that with your kids all the time, right? When they get to be teenagers, you have put in their backpack all the tools that they need to get into that jungle. But when they get into that jungle, there's a lot of pitfalls. And you're going to teach them how to get around the pitfalls and get to the other side. And it's the same thing in careers, or it's the same thing in putting the foundation of how you want to structure your life, how you want to design your matrix, and how you can be you. You don't have to be anybody else. You can be you. And very, very important. I will leave that as just like you. And as you do that, as you go through here to there, make sure that it's your character that is driving and is growing as you walk in that journey. Integrity, truthfulness, and one thing that for me is critical is trust. Put trust in your purse or in your wallet. It takes a long time to get it, but you can lose it in a microsecond. And you go a long, long way with trust in your wallet or your purse. And I feel the same way, that we will be able to help many to see that picture, to have that vision and visualize it, and have those SMART goals. It's what you do in business. That's what you do in your personal lives. It's not different, right? And a lot of times in business, it's not that a business is smarter than another business, or it's not that a business have more money than another business. It is the character of the leaderships that are able to see forward, that are able to take risk, that are able to be able to navigate those waters better, what make companies 10x versus 2x. And it is the same thing in your personal life. Is the vision, is the SMART goals, and is the battlefield. You get those three, you get to the other side, always. So, well, I just thank you for your time, JC. I know how busy you are, and this is your weekend, and you are an amazing husband and father, and have your little boy that's growing up very fast in all these sports and everything. This has been a gift, And I continue to pray for you and for your family. And let's continue to pass the baton down to all the younger generations that need to see the truth that will set them free in that journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marilyn.